Welcome to a commentary, commentary battle for Rome 2 Total War. This is going to be my first ever Rome 2 Total War video. I just think that, times have changed. I think that it's time to move on from the classic Total War. I'm going to still upload it, but unfortunately, I just don't think that the view potential is going to ever be what, I think I could get out of all of this. So we're going to just be doing these now. It's so hard to get a match on Rome 1 now as it is. It's just the absolute worst, It's just not anyway. It's not viable. And then the few people that do play, they're kind of like elitist, and they won't even let you into the groups to play with them. It's like the same, 8 dudes. And if there's like 7 of them on, they'll just like do a 3v3 and then one of them will sit out. They won't even let someone into the game, which is, Anyway, guys, that was just enough of that. Anyway, so yeah, I loaded up Rome 2, and I said, fuck it, man, I'm just going to become a Rome 2 god, because I saw that there's a ton of people playing, and I go, oh, surely there's nothing to this. It just must be, a bunch of movie, fan people that just want to get, like, a little, hour or two, and just see a bunch of guys on a big battle kill each other. But no, man, it's actually pretty legit. Like, people are doing. I see something called 124. I haven't even researched what it actually is, but it seems like it's 16K or 31K like on Rome 1. And that's just the amount of money you're able to use to upgrade and purchase troops. I don't know what 124 means. I don't even think that's how much funds they use. But anyways, it doesn't fucking matter. We're going to be commentating over a little battle here that I fought. And this is I think this is like my third. No, I'd say this is like my 4th or 5th multiplayer duel, because with my buddy back in middle school, he actually got me to buy Rome 2. I always told him Rome 1 was better, but he got me to buy Rome 2, and we played a couple matches, and I beat him so fucking badly. I mean, it wasn't even fair, because I just had, experience playing Total War. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started in on this. This is like, I'd say my 4th or 5th multiplayer battle at maximum. This is my second battle played, actually, and the first one I played was against this guy. He smoked me. And I think after, I just paid attention to kind of how he built his army, and so I kind of took notes, but this is basically the same kind of setup that I would bring on in Rome 1. I prefer to play Greek factions, or the Greek slash, uh, you know, uh, like Pontus, or, like the Seleucids. I like factions like that, usually. And I actually prefer to bring lots of light infantry, and if they have heavy infantry, I always bring it, though. So as you can see here, I've got the thorax swordsman mostly. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thorax swordsmen. I've got one medium spear unit here, Massilian hoplite Thureos spears. Sorry, they are. I thought I was mistaken. They're not. They're just basically, I'd say, lightly armed spearmen. They've got decent armor, so you consider them, medium to medium heavy. But they're actually a javelin unit, so these are kind of like peltists, but they're way more combat able. So those guys are actually going to come into play very good here later on in the battle. And I didn't expect them to. If you don't get a high ground, or if your enemy beats your main skirmishing force, you're basically, your peltists and your just javelin throwers just become absolutely useless, unless you lock the enemy infantry down with yours. Then they can get good hits on the flanks on those, especially on that heavy infantry. But the whole deal with that is they just end up getting fucking sniped anyway, you know. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, you know, it doesn't show me the unit panel at the bottom, so I'm always used to that from the older Total Wars. So yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Celtic Slingers. I was actually very worried about this. See, if I would have gotten rid of the Thoreo Spears, I would have been able to pack like maybe 7, 8. Bear in mind, none of my troops are upgraded. I actually don't think any of his are. Oh no, he did upgrade one unit actually, and I don't. Yeah, and that was his general unit, his noble hoplite. So, damn, those guys are fucking annoying. Yeah, he's playing Illyria, so yeah. After I show you the cavalry that I have here, we'll go over his troops. I've got 1 Tarantine cavalry, and I had 3 citizen cav, or sorry, 2 citizen cav and 1 Massilian cavalry, which is the general unit I picked. The Hippeus Lancers are probably a better general unit, but these guys are basically, I mean, they're light cavalry. They're actually lighter than the citizen cavalry. So for my general unit, it was a very risky move, but I just decided to go for it since I knew I was just going to basically really only use him if necessary or if my cavalry's losing a cavalry battle. So, yeah. And, you know, like, for the Greek factions, you know, I was worried he was going to pack cavalry. He didn't pack really any cavalry. He actually picked skirmisher cav, and he picked, you know, Merc Tarantines, which are basically the same thing as my Tarantine. So basically, when I started this battle here, now as I'm moving this way, I saw he was, you know, kind of moving this way. My goal is to defeat his missile units because he had more, I believe. And if I lose out to that, because my missile cav is not going to beat his missile cav by a long shot, and I do not want to send in my citizen cavalry, you know, to just get, you know, sniped or whatever. It's just too risky. He had way too many spears. But anyways, so yeah, that's my army composition and just a little bit of you know, details for anyone who doesn't really play this game. I hope it's interesting. Um, but anyways, so this guy brought some Illyrian Marines. So yeah, he's playing Illyria, which, you know, otherwise known as the Eridaii. I think that's what they're Eridaii. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. I should have looked it up. I actually played a single player campaign as them, and I actually really love this faction. So I think that brought a lot of information into play for me. I was able to, you know, like the last faction he played, I got absolutely smoked. I had no clue what some of those units were, you know, for, and all that. So, anyways, he had 1 Illyrian Marine. He might actually he might have had more. I don't think he did. I believe he did have only one. Yeah, he had 2, 3. Oh wow, he actually, I remember he did bring a little bit. He did have 4, so 4 Illyrian Marines, and these guys are kind of like Thoreo spears. So as you can see, they've got a javelin in their arms there. Um, Interesting choice, you know. I think that if he beats my skirmishers, those guys are going to be insanely lethal. If he can go ahead and get good shots and get some good plays here, but he just doesn't have the cavalry to support a lighter infantry, you know, force like this. I mean, I think he was maybe expecting me to field a lot more light infantry than he thought. I don't know if he was just trying to, if this is a build he does. This guy was pretty good, bear in mind. He was not a bad player by a long shot. He really got me good in that first battle. I actually have that one recorded, and I'll put that one up too. So, and yeah, Camoj, if you ever end up watching this, you're freaking good, dude. So, yeah, and then he had slave javelin men. He had slave slingers. So these guys are pretty decent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he had the same amount of slingers as me. He had one more javelin, but he had all of those Illyrian Marines, man, and those were kind of like worrisome because, you know, like I was talking about earlier, if you play around and lose your, you know, especially since I don't have very many missile troops, and the fact that I only had 1 Tarantine missile cavalry, and they're not even fucking, they're not even bowmen. These guys have javelins, so Yeah, man, it's just ridiculous. And the few slingers I had were unupgraded, and it just was not a very, because usually you want at least one chevron of experience for these guys upgrade. But anyways, this is a bunch of Total War talk. Anyone who watches this that doesn't really know the game, we're gonna move on. I might get into some of the strategy a little bit, but it's gonna try to be kind of general. So here I saw that he was, positioning himself. He wants to get up on the hill here very badly, I can tell. But he's trying to move slowly to like not scare me. But I'm an experienced Total War player. I know what he's doing. So I begin running my troops very quickly. I ran my infantry forward to try to kind of put him off. But my whole idea is to just get all of my skirmishing units on this little hilltop here, and it's very evident here. And I was actually trying to make it, not as clear too. And I think that's why he didn't go heavy over there. He's a little hesitant. Um, he's got his missile troops arrayed at the front. He's ready to move up. But I know that he's not going to rush up into this because the fact I have the citizen cavalry. If he gets too close with the missile cavalry, they'll be useless. And then if I'll just kill his cav, and then he's open. Um, oh yeah, he did have one unit of Illyrian cav, which is that is a threat if he can get a good play on my cav. Uh, so check it out here. I'm just moving my Tarentines up. I'm just like, okay, what is he going to move his skirmishing cav? Is he going to try to get up on the hill? These guys will definitely scare away his his cavalry unit, 100%. That's probably why he decided not to move up at this point. He's just kind of sitting here thinking like, okay, what's he doing? Like, he's just trying to see. He wants me to make a move first, okay? Because he's in a position where if he just rushes into things, he's got to be careful. His troops are somewhat of lighter armor. Like they don't really have very good armor. They've got these little things there that this obviously isn't real life, but if you look at their armor, their stats kind of match it. So he's going to be moving his. He wants to try to bait me here. I'm fairly certain. Oh wait, why was that on slow motion? Jesus Christ, I did not notice that. I was like sitting in slow motion. Okay. Anyways, oh yeah, so he had these mercenary Celtic warriors. I believe they were hidden there for a second. So those guys are if his infantry gets pinned, those guys are a decent flanking unit. So he's trying to move up here with his missile cav. He wants to get the hill. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it. He's got that Illyrian cav there to support those Tarentines, and they they lose I think about one unit there. Again, not very good kills, and as you'll see throughout this fight, these skirmishing cav units, it's just a very long and grueling process of just slowly eliminating each other. And because if you give one side too much, too many, too good of a volley, it's basically over. If the skirmishing cav gets like maybe 15 to 25 men below the other skirmishing unit in a case where this is a one-on-one like a battle like this, uh, you'll lose that, and it gets to a point where you can just charge the enemy skirmishing cav. So he's trying to be very careful here. He knows that my guys have the range. I have lost more than him, but as you can see, I'm not worried about that. After that happened, I decided to move these slingers over to the hill. It was about time. I realized, okay, I've got to try to get some fire on this guy. I've got the hill advantage, and I've got the support of my main body of troops here. So what you're seeing here is this is the initial skirmishing battle. This has happened quite a lot in real ancient warfare. As you'll see, if you've ever studied the battles, this is something that happens. Is if there's a key point of the battle where if one side controls it, it becomes an increased advantage. They won't always pit all of their forces into that position. It's just too risky, even for both sides. So what we're doing here is we're using a small amount of troops to try to decide a key part of the battle here. And as you can see, he's trying to get in here with his cavalry, and he's just, yeah, he's not, he knows it is not smart. And right here is where I get my first very good volley, and it's by the support of the the Celtic slingers, obviously. So, yeah, we've got our main bodies over here, and what that's basically doing is like whether or not this portion of the battle loses, if it's a very sudden loss for one side, what we're going to do is just go in and go all fucking frenzy mode and just try to get it over with. So right now he's repositioning. I think this was a try to he's trying to bait me, I think, into moving these guys forward. I think he was just trying to do something different. He knows that this might not work out for him, or he's just moving them back so that he can have more room to focus on this, because he was thinking I was going to end up going for a play over here on this side. I mean, I could have done it, but it just wasn't, I didn't want to have one side of the army so far away from the other. Effectively, that just turns into a shit show. Okay, so as you can see here, I mean, it's just a total, skirmishing battle. I get very cocky here. I see an opening, I go in for it, and it did not work out very well. Their shields were faced towards me, and when I had to move back, and right when I did, right when I turned my guys around, they threw their volley. And see, that's the issue. But if I would have left them there, I would have had 2 units shooting at me at the same time, and whether or not their shields were up, they would have got smoked. But yeah, turning your back to the, enemy skirmishing cav is very scary. You have to be able to be doing this very properly in order for this to work. And as you can see, like I said, I mean, he's not a bad player. He knows what he's doing. He has a tendency to just he has skirmish cav. Last battle he did the same exact thing. He didn't, you know, he did not play around with his skirmishing technique, and he would use the skirmishers for weird factions that aren't necessarily skirmishing factions. So, yeah, as you can see here, we've got a little bit of a height advantage, and so that's giving us kills on these guys, even though, we basically miss. I mean, it's not, just the height is such an advantage here. You'll always get like 1 or 2 kills, but as you can see, they're not able to kill any guys. And keep in mind, I'm also wounding them too. Like, if I'm not killing any of these skirmishing guys, they're being wounded, they're getting hit. So as you can see, I mean, if some of these guys have blood on them, that's because they've been wounded. So he's going to get a little bit of cocky here. He sees that I'm moving my skirmishers up. He's got to try to make a play on that. But, charging uphill, and I see that, so I move my citizen cavalry up here. He fucks off, and then, yeah, we've got the Tarentines right here. I ended up really enjoying these troops here because of this battle, and I'm going to use them in the future. But some other factions, they've got some very good troops. I don't think that... Yes, okay, he's just trying to go for baits. I'm not falling for it, man. I'm not going to do it. I'm not leaving the hill. And as you can see here, I've got one unit just kind of moving back and forth, just trying to, bait them out. And then I've got a unit kind of higher up the hill. You'll see me move them down here and there, but I tend to keep them up on this perch right here, so that they can support these guys, kind of fire and move kind of deal. Yeah, so we're totally honed in on this little skirmishing battle over here. As you can see, there's already been quite a few losses on both sides. So yeah, I've got the Celtic slingers here just doing You know, as I mentioned before, fire and move kind of deal. These guys are just basically, you know, harassing these guys while my foot troops can get shots off. So, see, I get very cocky here. I kind of had a weird feeling he was not going to dedicate his troops. He knows that I've got the fire, but it does end up fucking these guys up very badly. And unfortunately, we lost way more than they did there. And here's where I kind of realized, okay, I got to get my shit together. So I start moving my cav. I'm like, yeah, I need to put cav over here on this far end. They've just got the numbers on my cav now, so um, basically, and here's my general. I run him in here just because he's like a lighter cav unit, and I wanted to buff my cavalry just in case they go in. You got to remember, I've got one cavalry unit on this flank. He's dedicated his entire cavalry unit on to this left side of the battle from our perspective, right for his. And yeah, so these skirmishers, these Celtic slingers, you know, they're just getting very good shots off on these skirmisher cav. As you can see, I got a little too close to his slave slingers, so they just let off some shots there. Um, we don't want them to be getting all them shots off on us, so we're just gonna kind of go back here with the citizen cav. And as you can see here, I've got my Tarantine cav. They're winded. I'm just resting them right now, and I'm basically just going to use them as a reserve unit to just run down fleeing troops. So whenever their troops rout, I'll probably try to run them down with those guys. Right here, he's starting to make a move with this cav. I just decided, hey, you know, I got to move the missile cav over just in case we can get good shots. So that'll give him a little bit of pressure here. See, he's just trying to do something here where he's just trying to distract me, and then he's going to try to get in here on my slingers. But unfortunately, he's lost a lot of his missile cav. So the truth is here is he doesn't really have the advantage anymore. But he goes in, he gets a charge in on my slingers, but I knew he was going to do it. I wanted to bait him in, so I just draw him in, give him something that's way too, you know, good. Way too good of an opportunity to lose, and then I sink my teeth and I get rid of them. You see, I got some of my slingers there. They put up a decent fight. Oh, that guy got fucking kicked in the face. See, yeah, I decided it's time to get you guys out of there, so I ran them out. They started taking a beating. So he sacrificed his cavalry essentially to try to take out some of my missile troops, but yeah. So that cavalry engagement's over. They're broken. They're gonna flee the field. Probably. I doubt that they'll come back. Uh, However, some of his skirmisher cavalry was still alive. He decided to just throw them in, um, and unfortunately, it did not work out for him. You'll see. This is the Tarantine cavalry. This is the same one we have. They cannot put up a very good fight against regular cavalry. So, yeah, they go down pretty quickly. And there they go. So he's put and pull back his troops. He's realized, okay, my cavalry's been lost. So, um, yeah, none of them end up coming back after this point in the battle. So I have won the missile fight. I begin moving my infantry over at this point because now that I've got the hill, there's no point in having any of my men on that side of the field. He's going to compensate for that. He's going to try to move over on the initial spot that I started out at, which is higher than his initial starting point. So here come my Celtic slingers from the very far back ranks. They want to get the hell out of there. We've got what looks to be a Illyrian horse running away. And here they come. The slave slingers, the mercenary Celtics. that they're gonna, probably waste. And then these are their most formidable troops. He's got 2 of these, and I have to be extremely careful because these are Illyrian noble hoplites. They're very heavy hoplites. So he's got one as his general unit, and then he's just got one here that. And so the fact that he has one that isn't a general unit is very scary because he might be a little bit more conservative with that general unit, but he will not be conservative with these guys, and they will put up a very good fight. One of those is probably as good as 3 of my thoraxes. I'd really say that. So I've got my thorax swordsman here. They've got, basically standard, heavy infantry equipment of the time. They've got these kind of pikeman helmets, which I think are really cool. It's like the same ones that the hoplites use. Or phalangists, I believe, actually. Anyways, so yeah, I start, positioning my slingers here. Go ahead and put that to normal speed again. So I decided to get my Thurio spears into the action. Now that I've eliminated their cavalry, these guys I'm not worried about. They have spears, so they can put up a good fight, but Missile Cav just shreds them, dude. So, yeah, and as you guys are going to see, these guys end up becoming a pretty decent unit here. He's very aware of how deadly their volleys are, so it provides a little hesitation, and it gives you a lot of breathing room sometimes. So I'm just completely trying to bait him right now. My troops are fully rested. They can move. I am just moving up. I'm trying to bait. I know that he's not going to come up this hill. But I know that if I just rush down in there and just charge into him, I will lose. That's the problem here. So you can't... he'll just have those noble hoplites just, run up to the front there, and then he'll have his Thurio spears get really good shots off while they hold down my infantry. Or sorry, Illyrian Marines, not Thurio spears. They're basically like a Thurio spear, but yes, they look like they want to fight. Yeah, so this is the Illyrian faction, Rome 2. They're really nice. I really love them, man. They're cool. Um, they got a lot of like marine type units. They've got their Sea Raiders. Really sick faction. For a seafaring faction, they're really good for, you know. It's okay, so he's going to be moving here. He knows that he's got to make a move. He knows I'm not going to, play games anymore. Go ahead and fast forward it. So we begin letting off some shots here. He moves up his skirmishers. Let's go ahead and check that out. So they're trying to get some shots up on the hill. But as you're going to see, it's a lot harder to hit a target up the hill, especially when they've got shields and half their bodies are covered. So what you're going to see here is these guys just end up taking losses. I'm very far away from them, so it's hard to get the hits, but just the fact that we are... And look at this. We're getting hit, but oh, we lost a guy there, but we're getting hit, but the elevation's providing a lot of support here. As you can see, when the rounds hit them, they're not as lethal. And a lot of them miss, actually. Bouncing off their shields. And over here, it looks like we got some guys gunned down. Let's check this out. I missed that. So you'll fast forward things, and then you'll just miss a couple things. You're like, huh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, so we had some guys we're losing the missile battle down here on the left. This is right here is where I realize I got to be really careful. I leave them here, I'm not too concerned. We're going to try to get some shots off on them, but I'm starting to, notice here at this point, oh shit, they're actually not getting any shots, so I decided to get them out of there. And at this point, I have to really begin relying on this little hilltop advantage that I've got, because And so now you see me repositioning troops. I'm going to get a little more aggressive here. I just killed one of their missile units, so it's a little more even. So I array all my guys into a position to where they can all be shooting now. So let's go check these guys out. They're getting gunned down here. The poor slaves. Slave slingers. Yeah, these guys have basically decided that they don't want to be doing this anymore, and they're out. There they go. There's a couple units over here. They're still standing good. They're still shaken, though. They're under, they're shaken because they're losing combat, and then these guys on the over here still are doing all right, though. They're a little confident, but they won't be for long. And as you can see, what's preventing his he's actually got his Marines up in the front with their shields, so that he's thinking that I'm going to try to target those guys instead of his slingers, but I'm just going to target the slingers. So these guys are unable to get any shots off. They're getting hit by guys that are just way up here. And, yeah, so this is a very good, position that I've got here. I've got one unit just gunning down these guys, and I've got one unit very high up here that's just able to get shots off without receiving any fire. So this is just a war of the skirmishers now. We're basically both at a point where we've decided that we're going to put our skirmishers completely into the playing field. And, yeah, after these guys duke it out, it's going to be time for the infantry to move in. Whichever side's missile units survive, they'll have a very large advantage over the opposing force because they'll be able to just shoot over the heads, especially since I've got the hill, they'll be able to shoot over the heads of the infantry and hit guys in the back of the formation. So now, as you can see, these guys are going to be getting decent shots now. He moved them up a little bit. He's got javelin. Oh yeah, the javelin. So I decided to move them out. I don't think that they're not routing quite yet, so I moved them back. I need to get them back into a position to where, and that's kind of scared me a little bit. So yeah, I moved the slingers back as well. The slingers in the middle here. Sorry, back as well. And yeah, no, I mean, it's going, by all means, it's going pretty well, but that volley scared me a lot. And as you can see, I mean, he's got more missile troops than me now, so I've got to be very careful. They might be a little bit more spread out, but it's not the time for me to be playing games anymore. See, if I would have brought one more missile unit, do you see how useful this would have been? And that's why I say 5 was a little risky at the beginning, but here we go. So he's going to, now that he's got the advantage, he's moving his guys up, and they're going to be throwing their javelins, which those things pack quite a punch. So I've decided to charge with my slingers and in support with my cavalry. So my cavalry, it's actually my general. I sent him in. But now, that was a risky play. Now he's retreating, though, so he lived. And yeah, it was a good move, but I lost quite a bit of them. But the whole point of that was I wanted to get rid of the slingers. Now all he really has are javelin men, and what I have left to gun him down outranges them. However, as you can see, it's time for me to move my infantry in. I am out of missile superiority. The only superiority I have is from the height advantage that I've got. Unfortunately, I've got to make my play now, so I move my infantry forward. Here they come. I decide, hey, why don't I just tango with him a bit with my Thereo spears, you know? I realize, oh, well, I'm not completely out of missile troops. I've got these guys. So I'm going to move them up, and then I'm going to support them with the Celtic slingers here in a moment. But I'm moving the cavalry up. I needed those slingers to come back for me so that they could have a little bit more cover. And as you can see, here they go. So we're giving those javelin guys what they gave to us earlier. They're running. They're hightailing it. He knows he'll lose them if he doesn't do something. And so he's got this other slave javelin unit on the right. That one kind of bugged me a little bit. So I was just like, well, I'm going to sit here. Fast forward that. So yeah, this is what it's looking like here. We've got all of this cavalry on the side. These are 2 units that took some losses. We've got what's left of my skirmishers, my very well-loved skirmishers. These guys really just put in a lot of work in this battle. So here he comes. He's going to move up, and this is where the battle kicks off here. If you didn't think it kicked off before, it kicks off here. So we decide to, I decide like I'm just gonna move up, and I'm keeping all of my skirmishers together in a close formation because if I move in my infantry, I'm going to want to use them in melee combat as well. But so I need them all kind of closer together so they don't rout very quickly. So they're just picking shots off at each other now. He decides to move up unit here of slingers. He's just going to try to get my guys to stop shooting. I saw that, so I moved up my smallest unit of slingers. They had a very small amount of ammunition as well, so they were expendable to me. But as you can see, they're getting gunned the fuck down. I also did that so that they'd waste more of their ammo, too. So now that he's lost quite a bit of his missile units, when I was talking about earlier, he lost all of his slingers. So now I kind of have range, but like I said, I mean, 40 missile units. It's not a lot, but it can do a little bit of damage, especially when you guys can't, shoot at them anymore. So he's going to move those slingers up. They're not going to last too long. He decides to charge with them. I just think he's just trying to get rid of my missile units while he can. Oh, they got a little bit of friendly fire there on their guys. And these guys do not give a shit about their slaves, that's for sure. As you can see here, the missile units that were shooting at each other all day, they are fucking pissed off at each other and they want to kill each other, that's for sure. I think that these javelin men were tired of, having to... As you can see, they routed. I think they were tired of trying to play games with these guys, so they tried to, end it as quick as they could, but, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a futile effort. So, yeah, I'm going to move these guys back. I'm like, yeah, I got to get you guys out. You guys are just going to cause us problems, because if these guys get scared and run away, they'll affect the rest of the troops, so I can just get them the hell out of there, and I don't think I would really use them for the rest of this battle. So now these Thereo spears, they get to show what they're worth. I'm going to show you guys how this works. These guys have, good shields, but After a while, they will start taking good damage. See, like when these guys get closer, they begin to take good fire here. So like these Celtic warriors had some javelins to throw too. So I decided to just keep them there, and that's the glory of these types of medium skirmishing kind of hybrid units, is they can stand their ground, and a lot of it is, you know, a lot of it's their armor. So you see, these Celtic warriors are still doing a lot of damage to them, but it's okay. We've moved our one unit up here of thoraxes, and these guys are going to be way stronger than these medium spirit units. So they're just going to cut them down. This is my heavy infantry. My heavy infantry would have cut down these Celtic warriors. So I send in my general here. He's going to inspire everybody. As you can see over here, I've started to move what's left of my Tarentine cavalry and a small unit of citizen cavalry. They're just going to prepare to get some side charges in on these guys, but we're being very careful. These guys can all hold their ground. So check this out. These guys looks like they ran out of ammo, but they were they were just getting some good shots on my guys over there with their javelins. So yeah, he's gonna try to send in the javelins to try to assist his troops, but my cavalry side charge on them it was just too much. So they're done. They're gonna run away and they're never coming back. So yeah, I've got and then there's some guys over there. It's pretty cool. They're thorax swordsmen that they've got like a javelin they can throw, but you can't like necessarily order them to throw it. So they'll just kind of like throw a few if they're in range. It's cool. I love that detail in this new game. See, as you can see, these guys are starting to lose a lot of men fighting uphill, and yeah, these guys are taking a lot of javelins to their shields. We're gonna throw some back. Looks like we only got a few guys there. Yeah, look at them. Oh man. So yeah, I get very confident here. I go, yeah, it's time to get in there. But as you'll see, these noble hoplites, they do not take very much damage compared to the other units, and they've got pretty good shields too. They've got those heavy metal shields. So as you can see over here, I get a back charge on these Illyrian Marines. They've got spears, but just the shock of that charge and their light armor is not going to do them any favors, so they break pretty quickly. And these thorax swordsmen, they only lost like 9 men, which is very cool. So I've got these Tarentines in the back here. They're just kind of chilling, waiting for an opening. But at this point, as you can see, the main bulk of their infantry is just about falling apart. And up here, those Celtic warriors, they're still fighting with the Thoreo spears. We'll see how this plays out, and we'll also have a bit of an overview. Yeah, I think that those guys, although they're Celtic and they're brave warriors, they're light melee infantry. They're gonna be fleeing here, and I'm gonna run them down with my general. Who's gonna kill every single one of them. Finish them off here. So meanwhile, a lot of our troops here, they've won their battles, so they're just kind of hanging out. They're waiting for when they have to go in. So I'm just going to be cycling them in slowly. So yeah. On this side, I realized that this battle over here was a little futile with the nobles, but so I've got some guys over here trying to get some javelins in, and then we're just kind of slowly engaging them. So he's decided to charge the guys that were over here, take them away from that battle. He decides if you know, these guys are screwed, I'm not going to help them. I need to try to win a fight over here. But, you know, the battle's been pretty much decided, so any moves you see decided after that are just not really going to be, there's not going to be really much to say here. Just the shifting of men to, you know, whichever side he thinks he can try to get an opening. But it's not, see, like, he's got his Marines here. He's just got them in a completely defensive mode here because he knows they can't win the melee. But, yeah, we're getting, these thoraxes are getting shots in. See, this is the range you need to be at to get the javelin throws. It's very close, you know what I mean? You cannot order them to fire. So I decided to array them a little bit closer. I know that he's not going to disengage yet. So yeah, you see that although that's the best thing you can do with these Illyrian Noble hoplites and any other units similar, is you can just try to get some heavy javelins thrown at their backs, and that usually deals with them pretty good. So yeah, they ran out of ammo though, so you know, I have no other choice but to send them in. So now my goal is to try to surround them here. Nobody's got any more ammo, but these guys put up a very good fight. Like, as you can see over here, these guys are surrounded too, but not nearly as bad. On this end, though, they're starting to get a little bit of ground. As you can see, I tried to do a side charge with the citizen cavalry. I mean, they aren't heavy enough. They're medium cav that have really good armor, but overall, this just wasn't the best play. So they got off their horses, and I decided to just throw them in. I ended up taking them out. They're here pretty soon, though, as you'll see. But, you know, it was worth using them. At this point, there's nothing else going on. I can't send in my general, but using my cav was a good idea. And I've got these guys right here that I believe I'm just repositioning. So yeah, these guys here are almost done. They've lost, like, they've probably only got like a quarter of the amount of troops they started out with left. But yeah, my cavalry over here, they're getting smoked, so I told them to just get the hell out of there. I'm like, guys, yeah, we don't need to lose you, you know. So I have them get it back up on their horses. I let the thorax cover them in the process, and then I get them out of there. So at the same time, these guys flee, and when they flee, it breaks this unit as well. So that's the battle. And if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. Let me know how I did with my commentary and everything, or whatever you think about the video. If there's anything I can improve, if you think the sound needs to be improved. I prefer to do live commentary battles. I just decided, if I ever have a cool battle like this, I'll share it with everybody. And you know, sometimes I can't focus if I've had a long day, so I don't do a live commentary. But yeah. Finish this coffee and watch some Tulsa King. All right.